Cheers.
Cheers! And welcome to After Work Drinks.
Yeah, I think we should probably explain what the hell this is.
I'm going to put my glass down.
So, I think we're going to make some changes to the format of the podcast.
Yes.
Because we are getting increasingly busy now that we're not just housebound for 7 days a week. So we just need to find a way to sort of manage the editing, like the recording's one thing, but then if we're sitting down every Sunday night to watch a film and record our thing after it, and then record the main podcast, watch TV for stuff, it's going to get too much.
Yeah, and it's started over the last couple of weeks, hasn't it, where we've been essentially... And I suppose it's one of the really interesting things about doing a podcast is learning about what goes on behind the scenes. But essentially it's been like 2 days of editing and doing the show notes and getting all of the timings from the podcast and things like that together.
And then there's times where we've had things planned and we're like, oh, how are we going to record the podcast? We need to fit it in around our lives.
Yeah.
And
that's starting to become more of a thing now that lockdown has lifted somewhat.
Yeah.
Obviously we're still socially distancing, we're still following all the guidelines, but we are now able to leave the house after shielding for sort of 15 weeks, wasn't it, that we did it for. And just life is changing, and we're sure it is for you as well. So we just wanted to have a little think. So we sat down, had a little bit of a brainstorm, didn't we?
Yeah.
And thought about, because we love the podcast so much, we wanted to see how we could continue doing it, but in a way that was sustainable for us and for the podcast in general. So we had, like I say, a little, but I really want to paint a picture of us with a whiteboard with properly brainstorming all the different bits, but it wasn't really like that, was it?
if anyone's seen Silicon Valley, it wasn't like that.
Yeah, it was more like standing in the kitchen.
It's a very specific episode of Silicon Valley. I'll tell you off air.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, I was completely ignoring you on that one. That's per.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, but yeah, we cooked in the kitchen and went, should we do this? And then went, all right then. So there wasn't any great moment like in a film where we went, cha-ching. Sad times. So
should we actually get on to what's not just on how we decided on stuff?
I like painting the picture. So
we are going to continue doing our little preamble and TV stuff and film stuff as part of the main show, as you would normally know. Date night, we're going to spin off. It's going to appear all in the same feed. You will not have to go anywhere for it. But date night might just appear later in the week, if at all.
If at all. So we may not be able to put things out every week. We've been putting it out every Monday, and like you say, life. I was about to say life finds a way, but that's not the right quote.
Life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way. So I think date night will just appear in your feeds with the film just there. We won't be sort of teeing up what the date night film will be. We will just decide between ourselves. And
we'll have a bit at the beginning before we think. We'll still take it in turns to pick films for each other.
Yeah.
Or it might just be a film that new on Sky or new on Netflix or whatever. Yeah.
So date night films.
Yeah.
That's going to be one bit. Then TV, the usual TV.
I think we'll probably try and get that on a Monday.
We'll try to. We'll see how we go.
Might be a Tuesday sometimes, but that happens sometimes.
Let's see, says the person who does the editing.
Well, that's the thing. I might be doing some editing as well.
I think you might.
So if it sounds really clunky and you hear some big things just to make Elaine agree with what I was saying,
some
obvious cuts.
Yes, Mark. Mark, you are wonderful. Thank you, Mark, for all that you do for us. Things like that.
Yeah.
You are my rock. Just repeated over and over again.
That's it.
So that's the other one.
Yeah.
And then finally, it'll be one like this.
Yeah, which I think we're just going to do every now and again when we see fit. So we're just going to pick a few topics that have been in the news, probably around entertainment. I can't see us getting into politics or anything like that.
No, I think we best avoid that, knowing us. So yeah,
we have enough arguments for that anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But calling it after work drinks because that will probably be what we do when we record it.
Yeah, we'll just have a drink and just pick some topics and just have a chat about them.
Yeah.
So nothing's going to change. Well, things are going to change. That's a complete lie.
Well, it's just going to be split into 3, isn't it,
Yeah.
really? So if you want to listen to us chatting about life in general and what's happening in TV and film around that time, then After Work Drinks is your thing. If you want to listen to us review some TV, then the TV podcast will be there. And if you're a really big fan of Date Night and listening to me make Mark watch more and more 90s films of
I'm more than happy with 90s films.
yeah, I was just thinking actually the 90s films you weren't that bothered about. It's more the Jaws 3D type of thing, isn't it, that you're not that keen on.
Yes.
But anyway, if you like that sort of thing and you really like the arty classics that Mark makes me watch, then Date Night is for you. And if you don't like any of those, you don't have to listen to them. So it's actually really good. You're going to be able to pick what you like.
But yeah, you'll probably end up getting more... Oh, God, it's really one to say content.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
you're
just
right.
makes it easier for us to do that. And I think the idea of sort of this is that we do very minimal editing on sort of After Work Drinks. It's just going to be us talking.
Yeah.
So what we've got to talk about?
We're going to talk about Mulan because I've been wanting to talk to you about Mulan like all week. Things are changing in cinema and you're really interested in this actually. Sorry, I'm pointing at you in a really aggressive way, but this is the sort of thing that you love to have a chat to me about, usually when I'm not really listening, but now I'm really interested. So Mulan was meant to be... Sorry,
I'm laughing because you never ever listen to me when I start talking about your industry stuff and, I think this is really interesting. But yeah, I mean, I didn't even suggest this topic, so... No, I've got a vehicle to make you watch films that you'll hate, and now I've got a thing to talk at you about entertainment industry stuff.
Just look at what the podcast has brought to our relationship.
I don't care about our relationship; it's just my joy.
But Mulan's so interesting, is it? Because you've got Nikki Caro, who's the director, who is the second female director of a Disney film.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
That's really interesting, obviously from my perspective. You've got a incredibly diverse cast. We are not whitewashing, so we're really, really looking at casting and making sure that casting is right. And it's just, I think it looks like a really interesting live action. And none of the other live actions have really, I've just not been bothered about them. I watched the Lion King one. I didn't know why it existed. I know that didn't necessarily involve people. I'm just thinking that through.
Yeah, it's not really live action. It's just differently animated.
Oh, you know
but
what I mean?
I get
like,
that.
Do you know what I mean? Like the remakes.
It's the globe of life rather than the circle of life.
Yeah, I've talked myself out of that argument.
Yeah.
But you know, when they've been remaking them, and I'm thinking, why are they well, like Jungle Book as well. That's probably better, but still only like mostly animals.
They turned Alice in Wonderland into a Lord of the Rings-esque film. Yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of them at all. And I'm not really looking forward to Mulan. I mean, it's a big film, so I probably will see it at some point.
Have you seen the trailer?
Yeah, I've seen it every week when I went to the cinema before lockdown.
I thought it looked really beautiful and innovative. And yeah,
Going back to a previous point in a previous podcast,
Yeah.
it's set in a time before electricity.
Oh, it is, isn't
and
it?
therefore, I don't hate all films, but they just don't interest me. So anything sort of historical to that extent just doesn't interest me. And yeah, I've seen Mulan.
Yeah, you watched it like
Quite recently.
A couple of months ago? Or
No,
something?
it was
before lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely before lockdown. I think it was middle of last year. It was when we just moved in here.
Okay.
I understand that there's no talking dragon in this one.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
What a spoiler.
I don't think that's a spoiler.
I was looking forward to the talking dragon.
Well, now yeah.
So the big thing
Yes.
is the whole idea of it now going on Disney Plus. Because the cinemas were really excited about it. It was going to bring people back to the cinema, a bit like Tenet. It was their little tentpole film. I learned that phrase recently because people keep using it in all the podcasts. I thought I've just got to get that in there. So it was their little tentpole. A family film. Everyone was going to come back to the cinema for this. And now Disney have said it's going to be on, and let me get this right because there's a bit of confusion with it. It's going to be on Disney Plus.
Yes.
But you have to be signed up to Disney Plus and then you pay a premium.
Oh, I didn't realise you had to be signed up to it.
Yes, you can't just... And I looked this up earlier to make sure I got it right. You can't just be someone who goes and pays the $29.99. you've got to be signed up, and then you are a Premiere member, and then you get to watch it as many times as you like. And I think the idea is, once you are signed up and you're this Premiere member, you're then able to pay for the other films that they are going to put on there, inevitably, aren't they? I mean, Black Widow is going to get put on there, isn't it?
So is this a one-time cost? Okay, so let me get this right.
Yeah.
So I thought this was just like, I didn't quite appreciate this, which maybe I should have checked before we started this. This is a second tier of Disney
Yes.
Plus.
They're calling it Premiere.
And it's a one-time fee.
Yes.
And it's 30 quid.
Yes.
And then you get to watch Mulan. But you will also be in this tier whereby you can also watch stuff that comes later down the line.
But I think you still have to pay for those films coming in. That's my understanding.
Another £30.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're in the tier, but you're there for Mulan, and then you're there for something else, and then, do you know what I mean? You're not paying a one-off fee to be in the premiere.
Okay, right. So you're purchasing it within Disney Plus,
within
essentially.
Disney Plus. And I think a lot of people were thinking, oh, well, I'll pay this it's 23 quid on the conversion. I'll pay this money, and I'll see this film in Disney Plus, and I don't necessarily have to take out a subscription. But of course, what's the point in that for Disney? Just thinking about it from a business perspective, sign up and pay your $5.99. Is it $5.99 a month?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, $5.99 if you're in the UK, $5.99 a month, and then you get the opportunity to see these films as well if you pay for the privilege of doing so. And my question was going to be, are you going to pay on top of our Disney Plus to see this film?
Right. Okay. Can I set out my thing on films bypassing the cinemas in the first place? So I think we are extremely lucky in where we live, that we live in a metropolitan area, and we have, I think I've counted 6 multiplexes within a 25-minute drive. We've got a community cinema that's really nice, just sort of next town along in Whitley Bay. We've got, within 10 minutes walk of both our offices, we've got one of the premier independent cinemas in the country, which shows largely films not only English language and independent, a lot of British films. If there is a film that we want to see, we're not going to have trouble seeing it. That is not the case for everyone. Even when I lived in Hull, which is, a good-sized city, the same size city as Newcastle, a few years back, I couldn't go and see No Country for Old Men because it just didn't play in Hull. And I had to go on a train to York an hour down the road to go and see it. Once, a film that we both love, didn't show in Hull at all. So I had to wait 6 months for it to come out on DVD just to even watch it. So I think giving people access to films is a good thing. This is a cash grab, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so I think the power dynamic has clearly changed between cinemas and filmmakers. And certainly 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. But now one needs the other far more than the other needs. Yeah, cinemas are far less and less essential to the filmmakers to get these films out there because they can just put them on their own services. We've seen, by all accounts, with Trolls World Tour, that did really well for Universal and led to a little bit of a fight between Universal and Odeon.
Oh, did it? I didn't know
Well, Odeon's owning company, AMC, had a big row with Universal and at one point threatened to stop showing any films because Universal said, well, we're just going to carry on putting them on premium rental. And I think they've come to some compromise where it used to be 3 months before they could sell it, and now that's gone down to, I think, 17 days. But they're only going to release it after 17 days if it's a flop. They're not, if someone's bringing in stuff at the cinemas, they're going to keep on getting the money. Disney needs to be really, really careful with this because I think they have marketed Disney Plus well, but there's a lot of upfront stuff that a lot of people have watched now, and I don't see stuff coming. There was Hamilton, and then the next thing I think that I've seen is the film with a gorilla and a dog this weekend.
You were going to mention that. I just knew you were going to bring that up.
Which I don't think is going to sell any new subscriptions.
I mean, it keeps it for you. Can you imagine if it was coming to an end and you said to me, Elaine, can we keep the subscription on? Because I just want to see
you picked
this.
Robin Hood for this week.
Yeah, I know. I have done you a favour.
So what you're essentially doing is saying, well, thanks for your £6, but to get the really good stuff, you need to go higher and higher. And the streaming world is, I mean, we've mentioned it so many times, it's so competitive. People are getting to that saturation point, and especially in America as well. I think they've just launched HBO Max, which is a new one from HBO. I think NBC have launched Peacock. Is that something?
Yeah, I heard of that.
So people are just going to pick and choose. And if you are saying to someone, well, it's just not a premium product, like you need to pay even more just to get the premium product. Plus, how long till Mulan actually goes on the lesser tier? It's probably like Frozen 2 they put out in 3 months. Certainly in America, I don't know. No, I think it was 3 months here. I think it was, I don't know. Yeah. They put out really quickly. Yeah, there's going to be... I think it's going to put people off their Disney Plus. I'm not paying £30 for it.
I did wonder. I wondered whether, because I know your love of cinema at the moment sort of surpasses mine, and you really want to go and you really want to see the films, and you're watching some really weird black and white thing at the moment, and
it's one of the most successful films of all time.
I'd never heard of it.
The best years of our lives. It's won multiple Oscars. One of the most successful films of all time, adjusted for inflation on box office.
It looked weird. That's all I'm saying.
But he did watch all of 2 minutes of it.
Yeah, I came down and was like, what is this? Can we put something else on? But yeah, I am really in two minds about this, because there's part of me that thinks, like, knowing how difficult it was to go to the cinema when... for example, our son was on medical oxygen, for example, or when we have accessibility issues now. So knowing how difficult it is to access things, I really love the idea that you can sit in your living room and watch the latest film.
Yeah.
But having said that, the money that you're having to pay out for that privilege will not be possible for a number of people. And I think we're in a really, and we use the privilege word again, we're in a really privileged situation that we can even consider to go, oh, we're paying $5.99 a month for Disney Plus, and do you think we'll pay £23 for, the fact I'm even asking you that question just shows that we're in a really, we are in a really privileged position, and there are a lot of people out there that aren't. Would you actually pay £23 if you were going to the cinema, especially if you went on a day where you had concessions? So there are ways of going to the cinema that doesn't cost £23.
The Odeon down the road is only a £5. Any time of day. It might be a little bit more like on the evening, but yeah, it's not expensive, like for one ticket. But I think the thing is, you bring the kids, they want popcorn, they want a gallon of Diet Coke.
I think this is what someone had said, because I was listening to, I think it was the film programme, BBC's programme about films, weirdly, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And they were saying the same thing, it's the average price of going to the cinema, but it still doesn't quite wash with me.
I think there's another side of things here, that if this carries on, and not just necessarily the Disney model, but the people having an alternative to watch it at home, some cinemas are going to go to the wall. And I don't want to see anyone lose their jobs.
No.
But there's a lot of cinemas who don't really care about anything once you pass the sweet stand. How many times have we been to like a multiplex and there's been people talking, people playing on the phones, just people messing about, like
running in and out of the screen,
just being idiots. And I think there will still be a market for cinemas, and there'll still be a market for seeing, no matter how good TVs are at home, there will still be a market for seeing blockbusters on a big screen projected, and that might become a premium experience. But there is going to be always room for well-run cinemas. I mean, the one that we go to, I think is all right. I've had bad experiences there, but there is some really nice seats there. And to be honest, I've found myself recently going for screenings which are less busy, even before COVID, because I didn't want to be disturbed when I was watching. But then I went to see Parasite, and that was a film where massive hype, but didn't show in any of the multiplexes around near us. So I had to go to the Tyneside, the independent cinema, and it was first night, absolutely packed out. Like I had people all around me, and I know you've not seen it, so I'm not going to spoil anything.
No, I've managed to get this far without knowing anything about Parasite.
But there is a moment where the mood turns.
spoiler.
I don't think that's a spoiler. And you heard the gasp of everyone in the cinema, and I thought, this is what cinema is about. So if there's a well-run cinema, I think it will succeed, because I think there's enough people to keep it going. And frankly, if the dickheads that play with the phone and things like that are able to stay at home and watch it rather than spoil my experience, I'm kind of fine with that.
And on that note, should we talk about the small screen? Because I'd really like to talk about The Crown.
I mean, I'm not going to say much in this because I've never seen a second of The Crown.
I know, but I think you might have an interesting take on the casting, which is what's come out this week.
Yes.
And actually a few weeks beforehand as well, so this has been an ongoing thing. But it's the new cast for the final 2 seasons have been announced. And now the most recent one is Princess Diana, which is always going to be controversial, isn't it? So Princess Diana at the moment is played by a relatively unknown actress called Emma Corrin.
Okay.
I think she might have turned up in series 3. I know Camilla turned up in series 3, young Camilla, but I don't know if Diana did. I just can't remember. I don't remember very much about series 3, to be honest with you. I felt it was a little bit of a step down from the first 2 series. I think I said that to you at the time, that I was so excited about it coming out. It's a big Netflix drama. I've absolutely loved series 1, series 2. I think it's an absolutely beautiful piece of drama. But series 3 for me, apart from some big highs and big episodes that were heartbreaking, I just felt it was a little bit uneven. So you've got Emma Corrin coming in, and then as time moves on for the final series, it's going to be Elizabeth Debicki.
Yes.
Who plays Princess Diana in the final 2 series. Do you know who she is?
Yeah, oh yeah. So a week ago, I would have known, but I wouldn't have been able to recall anything. I think I've looked her up recently for reasons I'll go into. But so she was in The Great Gatsby, in a small part.
Yeah, but it was a bit of a breakout at the time. People said that she was one of the best things in that film.
Okay.
And I do remember her. I think she was really interesting.
And she's in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Now, I read that earlier, and I can't remember what she is in it.
So she is like a robotic...
she
very
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like almost like you've just done a thing with your hand where you've like almost like painted your face.
Yes, painted my face.
Is she like silver colour or something like that?
Yes, she is. Yeah. Silver or blue colour's not my thing, is
it?
No.
Yeah. Mark's colourblind, everyone. So yeah, she's in that, and she's always
Cloverfield incident.
Oh, was she in that one?
Yeah, that was awful.
Okay, that was awful. Let's not talk about that anymore.
But this weekend I have just seen Widows.
Oh.
Where she is one of the main leads. What's happening here?
Mark's phone's just gone off, everyone.
So apparently I've Googled, let's not talk about that anymore this week.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting.
So she's in Widows?
So she's in Widows. And when I'd literally finished this and then saw this announced minutes later. And oh my God, did I not realise just how perfect a casting that would be until I realised it.
Yeah.
I mean, she is... When I was watching her in Widows, I was looking up if she had a previous career as a model, because she has those looks. She's tall, she's stunning, and she's a really, really good actress.
Yes.
Which I'd never really sort of realised, but she's one of the best things in Widows.
Yeah.
And I absolutely stand out, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm tempted with this and the other casting choice, I'm tempted to smash the next 3 seasons of The Crown.
I'd love you to watch it, because I'd really, really value your opinion on it, and you love talking to me about historical events that are set at a time after electricity has been invented. So this all is in that era, Mark. So you'll love it, and it's got all it goes through all the prime ministers, which I find really interesting, because I don't really know much about that sort of sort of the 50s and the 60s, and major events. Looking at major events through the eyes of the royalty. Of royalty. So yeah, I really, it's a really, really good show. It has won so many awards. I can't sort of say enough about it. I think she's brilliant. I think she's got the most beautiful bone structure. I think she moves in a really refined way. I think she'll make an absolutely brilliant Princess Diana, and I think it won't be a takeoff. I think it'll be a very respectful, dramatic performance.
Absolutely.
The other casting choice, which I thought was really interesting, is Prince Philip,
Yes.
the elder Prince Philip, and that's going to be Jonathan Pryce.
That's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this.
I don't look at him and see Prince Philip.
No, neither do I.
Whereas I do look at Tobias Menzies and I can see the face.
So good. He's so good. And you know Tobias Menzies, who's is playing him at the moment? He wasn't the first choice of casting. He wasn't cast.
Okay.
He was a late addition. Do you know who it was going to be? It was actually in the... He was ready, he was cast, he was ready to go, and then something happened.
No, who?
It was Paul Bettany. That doesn't sit right with me.
No.
And I just wonder, the last series... So you had Charles Dance as Mountbatten. You had Helena Bonham Carter as Princess Margaret. And I just felt maybe they were going for some classical old actors and actresses that we knew, the people that turn up in everything.
Yes.
And I don't think that particularly works very well for The Crown. I think it works better when you've got character actors or actors that we don't necessarily know, who aren't doing like as a takeoff, I said, with Princess, you know, they're not doing that. Tobias Menzies is perfect. You don't know him that well. They've obviously done a little bit of makeup on him just to sort of change the features slightly. But he is so good as Prince Philip. You can really imagine him as a midlife Prince Philip. And he really... Because he comes across like slightly curmudgeonly in the show.
Yeah.
But he really fills him with, you know, you understand why. And... you see more of him. He's more three-dimensional, and I think Tobias Menzies is a major part of that. He is one of the reasons why I liked series 3, or liked it, you know, maybe more than I would have done if he hadn't been in it. So Jonathan Pryce, I think, whenever I think of Jonathan Pryce, I think of him in that Bond film, The Media Mogul. Which one is he in? Is it
Tomorrow Never Dies? Yeah. So I know him from Tomorrow Never. Like, I know he's in everything. But I don't think of him in Evita. I think of him in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yep.
I think
with glasses, standing in front of like 100 televisions.
Essentially playing Steve Jobs.
Yeah, but at the time, wasn't he more like Rupert Murdoch?
Well, yeah. But I mean, he was playing Steve Jobs. If you look back at it now,
if you look at what he looks like, yeah.
I think of him in Brazil.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen Brazil?
I know of it.
Okay.
And I know what you're pointing to.
And I think of him, and I might be wrong about this, so... Is he Jack in Jumpin' Jack Flash?
Oh, you're asking the wrong person? I don't know.
Have you seen Jumpin' Jack Flash?
Yeah, but a very long time. Are we talking about Whoopi Goldberg Jumpin' Jack Flash?
Yeah.
A very long time ago. Because that involves computers as well, doesn't it? I imagine I'm thinking of her sitting in front of a computer screen.
All I really remember about that film is her trying to track down either someone trying to track down her or her trying to track down someone.
Yes.
And
she has to talk to someone through a computer.
By playing tunes. So, like, they play Help Me Rhonda, then Downtown to direct them downtown. Then, I don't know, they're the only two I can think of. Maybe, like, Across 110th Street by Bobby Womack or something like that.
Doesn't ring any bells with me.
Okay.
But yeah, Jonathan Pryce. I mean, he's just been in like The Two Popes, hasn't he? And he's a fantastic actor. Let's see what he does with it.
Did very well in Game of Thrones.
Yes, of course. Yes. And then you've got this was announced ages ago, but you've got Leslie Manville coming in as the elder Princess Margaret. I think she's going to have a whale of a time with the Princess Margaret character.
And is it Imelda Staunton?
And Imelda Staunton is taking over from Olivia Colman as the Queen.
Okay.
Which, it's fine. The Queen is not the main part of this show, in my view. The Queen in this show is a bit like she is in real life, in that she is the figurehead that everyone swirls around. But the more interesting characters, in my view, are the people like the Prince Philips, Prince Charles, you know, all of the other royals. So, yeah.
I'm going to ask a question. Which
no.
Is Prince Andrew in this?
No, he's a child.
Okay.
At this, I'm sure he's been played by like a 5-year-old or something like that. But at the point that we're looking at, Charles is like at university or something like that, or he's just about to take on the role of Prince of Wales, and he's been schooled in Welsh. Right. So we're not at that time.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't know if, from what I understand, they're not going to follow his storyline through. It's going to be more of the Charles and Diana Camilla storyline. But again, the best thing about The Crown for me is it's not a soap opera. You are every episode is looking at a particular event or a particular experience. So you just get a flash up at the beginning to say what year it is, and then you concentrate on a thing rather than, episode 1, they're having a party, episode 2, the fallout from the party. Do you know what I mean? And time moves on in between the episodes.
I'm imagining it looks like Mad Men in that fashion, where like relationships change in between episodes, and you would just kind of, the first 5 minutes of each episode is kind of working out where we're at, and then seeing what happens around them as much as what's happening on screen.
That's exactly it. So, and I think that's why I like it so much, because it's not salacious. It's not digging into the things or we'll do this because this is going to get us loads of like viewers. And obviously the Charles and Diana story is going to be of interest to people. Of course it is. But I'm not sure that they're going to. It's not going to take over the whole of the final 2 series. Is what I think. My opinion, having seen the rest of the series.
I want to know who's playing Paul Burrell.
Oh, Mark. I'll let you get away with that one. That's your one joke about the Royals on this podcast.
I think that's quite tough.
I think that is, yes, I know. Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to be popping up.
I'd love to see him in the background. Like...
Yeah, see, it's not that. That's what I mean. It's not that sort of show. If it was Channel 5. If it was a Channel 5 royal, royal love or whatever they call them, because they're always doing one, aren't they? They did one on Harry and Meghan recently.
Yeah.
If it was that, of course you would. You'd have some character actor playing those people who we know, popping up in the background, and it would be a point and, there they are. This isn't that sort of show, and I think that's why I love it so much.
Rory Kinnear would make a good Paul Burrell.
Okay.
He would?
Yeah, he would. He would. Yeah. You are right. Annoyingly, you're really right. Anyway, that was all I wanted to say about The Crown.
Okay. Well, look, I will watch a couple of episodes and I will let you know. Maybe on the main show.
The main show. Right, okay, so we'll leave it at that, I think. Thanks for joining us.
My drink's empty.
Yeah, your drink is empty. Thanks for joining us.
Because you hold the microphone, that's the problem.
It is true, and I'm a very slow drinker. Also, I'm also on Diet Coke, so,
yes, that's...
I don't think I want to down that in one, thanks very much. So thanks everyone for joining us on this first After Work Drinks. Oh, and if you haven't already, now is the perfect time to hit subscribe so that you don't miss any of the podcasts as they come out, because they're going to be coming out randomly rather than on a Monday, like Mark said. And as always, thank you everybody for listening to the show. We really do appreciate it, and we love all the messages that we get. If you do like the show, please consider sharing, liking, and telling your friends about us. It really does help us grow the podcast and keep it moving forward. Thanks very much, everyone.